Alicia, and we are back with day 2 of the keys to living in victory. Yesterday we discussed the authority, so I pray that you're walking in that authority today and that you're really just speaking to the enemy and knowing that he has no place in your life. So today we're going to talk about the second key, which is the victory mindset, or the mindset of victory. Proverbs 23:7 says, "As a man thinketh, so is he." And Philippians 4:8, which I do want to read, I don't have it memorized. It says, Philippians 4:8 says, "Finally, brothers, whatever is true, whatever is honorable, whatever is just, whatever is pure, whatever is lovely, whatever is commendable, if there is any excellence, if there is anything worthy of praise, think about these things." Wow, 2 powerful scriptures that really talk about the mind and the thoughts. Joyce Meyer wrote a book years ago, and it was called The Battlefield of the Mind. If you haven't read it, go check it out. But it's really just digs deep into how so many things go on in the mind, and what we meditate on, it determines what's manifested on the outside in the natural. A lot of things happen first here, before we actually see them. You think about, hey, I'm feeling a little tired, I'm feeling a little weary, and then the whole day goes by and you were tired and you were weary, right? Because the mind really sets the precedence for what's going to happen. So I want to encourage us that the victory mindset, how do we get that? I want to encourage us, number one, we have to understand as Christians that face value is not how we operate. And what do I mean by that? I mean that we walk by faith and not by sight. So when things happen around us, when defeat happens around us, when the bills are due, when, you don't know how you're going to do X, Y, and Z, we have to understand that God is always speaking and that he always has something to say about what's going on. We have to know that we cannot take it at face value, because when we start taking things at face value, or we start looking at things of how they look on the natural, we begin to get defeated, discouraged. We begin to become doubtful, right? We may look at the situation and say, God, you're not in it. When actually God is all the way in it, and he's realigning and reorchestrating and transitioning. And so you have to know that you cannot look at things in the natural, because God is a spiritual God. And in order for us to really have the victory mindset, we have to meditate on what he's saying and not what we see. The second thing about the victory mindset is that we have to come into alignment with what God has said. And so a lot of times our mind sometimes is not in alignment, right? And so, we can become either double-minded, where we're fearful and we're, strong in the same breath, right? But God does not call for us to be double-minded. He calls for our mind to come into alignment with his word, come into alignment with the peace, come into alignment with the blessings that he has for us. And so to really possess that victory mindset, we have to understand that until our mind comes into alignment, until we, every day we can realign our minds with what he's saying. So a quick way to do that, every minute, every hour, every second. Listen, we need mindset resets like all the time. But a quick way to do that is to ask God, hey, God, money's a little low right now. What are you doing? What are you saying? Provide wisdom, provide strategy, because the key to having the victory mindset is that that victory does not come by physical things. It does not come by what you have. It does not come by your accolades, what you've done. But the victory mindset is really consistent across the board, regardless of any of that. It's really in alignment with who God says you are, what he's called you to do, right? And what he's doing in your life. We don't rest as Christians. We shouldn't rest in, things that we're doing to cause us to be victorious, to, give us that encouragement, or give us that that boost that we need to feel like, hey, I'm victorious. I signed 5 clients this week. You are. And if you didn't sign any, you would still be victorious. Why? Because God has called you to build this business, and he will send what you need when you need it, right? And so just understanding that the victory mindset is not contingent on what's around us, but it's contingent on what's inside of us, our heart, our mind, our emotions. How are we processing things? Are we processing it through our lens? Are we processing it through the Holy Holy Spirit? Are we asking God what he thinks about it, or are we just going and telling God how we think it should be? And so the mind, we have to understand that it is such a powerful tool, because as Philippians says, listen, focus on things that are pure, that are lovely. So in every day, starting today, think about one thing, two things, three things, something pure, something lovely, something excellent, something worthy of praise, something you can focus on. Wow, God, you're keeping our family. You're providing for us. You're allowing us to be in the right mind. You're speaking to us. You love us so much. Just thinking about what God is doing for us in the midst of a pandemic, in the midst of when you feel like you're defeated, when you don't have all the pieces. The key to a victory mindset is really resting in the fact that God, number one, is fighting for you. He will fight for you. You don't have to fight in your own strength. And number two, knowing that the mindset comes from having the peace that passes all understanding. When your mind's trying to go through that Rolodex and figure out how things are going to happen, when things are going to come to fruition, how parts of your life are going to be impacted, just to be able to stop and do a victory mindset reset, right? And say, God, just reset my mind. I'm going to be still. I'm going to surrender my mind to you. I'm going to surrender my thoughts to you. Because when we don't have the victory mindset, that's when anxiety can creep in, doubt and fear. That's when self-sabotage starts to happen, when you start to just talk all types of down to yourself and discourage. And God does not call for us to live in that. And so I just want to leave you with this, that your victory, the victory that God has for you, is for you. He does not want you to be defeated. He does not want you to be doubtful. He does not want you to focus more on what's going on around you than what he's doing right inside of you, right inside of your heart, right inside of your mind, giving your mind a reset. Ask God this week, ask God today, God, what part of my mind do you want to speak to? God, what kind of thoughts today are you resetting? God, what's the insecurities in me, God, that you're speaking to? God, what's going on in my mind, so that way I can make sure that I surrender and I cast my cares to you, and that I really can live and walk with the victory.